All right. Hi guys. Hi. Um, we are live with day three. Day three. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about parameters. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, this is a Mid-Journey Madness. We're doing 21 days of Mid-Journey Madness. Day one, we covered prompt structure. That is the order of how information goes into the prompt to generate images. Day two, we covered the cheat code, right? Like, how do you get those dynamic prompts that deliver what you are looking for? And then day three, we're going to do parameters. And then tomorrow, just to give you a heads up, we're going to start the art styles, and we'll start with the photography. Okay, so let's talk about parameters in Midjourney. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and if you're feel free to chat along with me in the comments. Let me share my screen. All right, and so the first thing I want to show you is the Mid-Journey parameters list. And so I dropped this in the comments. I dropped this in the caption if you're on Facebook. But where do you find the document? So if you go to docs.midjourney.com, so it's docs.midjourney.com. And when you go there, you'll find like documentation, things like that, right? And so I went ahead and dropped in the parameters list. If you go up to the search, you could just put in parameters and you'll get this list. Okay, so parameters offer control over the images that you generate. So that's going to be, it can help you control output. It can help you customize sizes. You can enhance the quality. And there are probably over 20 parameters. So you know something is a parameter when you see a dash dash. Okay, so dash dash AR is aspect ratio, dash dash C is chaos. And you'll see this at the end of the prompt. So if we go back and look at the prompt structure, you saw that there was the art style, the subject, okay, the scene, and then the parameter. Okay, we did not talk a lot about parameters. So today I'm going to talk to you about what that does and what it looks like. So let's get started. I'm going to do a presentation. I'm going to present. Okay, and let's take a look at Midjourney parameters. Again, this is day three. We'll be here for 21 days. What are parameters? And so those are basically commands that give you control over how to customize and enhance your images. Okay, and you'll see the way that you'll see it written is this dash dash, no space, right? So dash dash the parameters, and then there'll be a space between the parameter and the range. Okay, so it looks like this: dash dash S space 250, dash dash V space 5.2, dash dash AR space 16.9. So the space is whatever the range or options are. There's a space between the parameter command. Okay. And so we'll talk about some of the most popular parameters. There's 20. We'll talk about a few. Now, again, they go at the end of the prompt. So as you can see, vector illustration is the art style, okay, of a happy alpaca driving a small car. That is the happy alpaca, I'm sorry, is the subject driving a small car with lime and green and gray hues. That's the scene, okay? And then you throw in a parameter. So let's talk about the different parameters, okay? So there's over 20. We're going to focus on the 6 that you need to know out of the gate. And here they are. Let's take a picture of the screen, okay? Aspect ratio is dash dash AR. Chaos is dash dash C. Stylize is dash dash S. Raw mode is dash dash style raw. Now that's a little bit different. Mostly it's just a letter or 2 letters, right? But that's one of the few where it's not one, but 2 words. Okay. So dash dash V is the model or the version of the Midjourney. So like 5.1, 5.2 is the version of the model. Okay. So it's dash dash V for version. Okay. And then dash dash Q is quality. Okay. Dash dash Q is quality. Okay. So let's talk about the AR. That's the most important one, aspect ratio. Okay. Let's take a picture of the screen so you can see some of the most popular aspect ratios. And while you're doing that, I just want to make sure that everything is showing up properly. So I'm going to take a quick second to just look at my YouTube channel and make sure that this is showing up properly while I'm showing this video. That's day 2. Let's go and look at day 3. Okay, yeah, everything is showing up properly. Okay, cool. Okay, so the square parameter is a 1-to-1 ratio. Portrait, right, is a 4:5 ratio. And that's going to be, say, your Instagram post. Okay. Not your stories, right? Stories are 1:2 or a 9:16 ratio. So that's going to be your Instagram stories. That's going to be your TikTok. That's going to be your YouTube shorts. All of those are 9:16 ratio. If you want landscape, like presentations and thumbnails for your YouTube video, that's going to be a 16:9. But you'll also see like a 4:3, a 3:2, and a 2:1. Okay. And then your book covers are going to be 2:3. There can also be 4:5. But I think it's 17 to 17 to 21. Maybe 17 to, I got to go back and look. All right. But because there was a time when we couldn't do specifics, and now with 6.1, we can do like exact dimensions. Okay. So just to ask, and I'm going to play around in Midjourney so you can look at it. So, but right now you just need to know what it is. Picture of the screen in 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's jump over to the stylize, right? And so the range, it goes from 0 to 100 to 100 is the dash dash S. Okay. So I'm showing you this image is S dash dash S250, 500, 750, and 1000. And the higher the number, the more the Midjourney model has influence over the look and feel. Okay. The higher the model, the higher the range, the higher the number, the more Midjourney has influence. So if I want my prompt to have more influence than the stylizing of the model, right? So the Midjourney has its own aesthetic, okay? And so if I want to have less influence for the aesthetic and more influence of the prompt, then I'm going to drop that stylization down, okay? So and that really works good with, say, specific things like body type, skin type, things like that. Because what does Midjourney do? It brightens and beautifies. The higher the number, the more it brightens and beautifies. So if I'm trying to get darker skin tones, it's not paying attention because it's brightening and beautifying. So I have to take that stylization way down. Okay. So now let's talk about models and versions. And Midjourney goes back. It's got 1, 2, and 3. But we really didn't get images that look worth a tutti frutti until 4. But for me, the game changer was 5. Okay, 5 and then 5.2. And so I use the same prompt in V5, and then in V5.2, then in V6.1, which is currently where we are, right? No, we're 6.2. Are we in 6.2? I think we're in 6.1 maybe now. Okay, so you see the aesthetic for illustrations was really kind of not very detailed in V5. And then in V5.2, everything was influenced more as for photography. They were working on getting realistic. So even though I put illustration, I would still get more photography looking stuff. But 6.1 is where they really came out of the box and gave us a great aesthetic. And I will say this. when they launch a model, a lot of times, I think when they first launched 6.1, I just didn't like it. It just, so I'm sorry, 6.0. 6.0 was not great out of the box. I just couldn't get anything to work. But 6.1, they released it like 6 months later, and out of the box, it was a much better model. It took a lot less work to get the prompts to give you what you were looking for. The prompt coherence was better. And so I hope they're working on 7 now. I hope that 7 has the same effect. 6 did not. And the model got better like 3, 4, 5, 6 months in. I did not like it out of the box though. Okay. So now let's look at raw mode. What does that mean? So raw mode is a much more simplistic aesthetic for Midjourney. So the Midjourney, so it's saying basically, give me the raw images, okay, versus the Midjourney aesthetic. Okay. So the Midjourney, remember, it brightens and beautifies. Okay. So if I want it raw, that means take some of that beautification off. Like you put too much on it. It's too many artifacts, too many swirls, too much glitter, right? I'll go to dash raw mode to give more of what my prompt wants. Okay. So raw means it's less Midjourney influence. If you don't have the raw, it's going to look like this. It has a lot of Midjourney influence. Again, brightens and beautifies, clarifies, gives more detail, but it puts a lot of extra on it sometimes. And if you're looking for something more simple, you might go with the dash style raw. Or if it's not giving you what you're putting in the prompt, sometimes you need to put in the dash style raw. Okay. All right. So let's look at chaos. Okay. So chaos, they changed the name to variable inside the platform, but it's the same thing. And the parameter to trigger it is still the dash C. Okay. Because if you try dash V, that's for version. Okay. So chaos means the difference between the images, right? So how different do you want the 4 images that are generated in your preview? How different do you want those images to be? The higher the chaos, the more different the images are. So dash 0 means there's like virtually no difference. Okay. I think the default is 10. Some people say the default is 20. I think it's 10. Okay. But it goes up to 100, which means drastically different. I put mine at dash 30. Everybody that's taking my classes, they kept it at 10, they kept it at 20. It gives you, the images are too similar. You need the dash 30 to give you enough variations to not to have to run the model several times, like rerun. Well, it's rerunning and giving you everything pretty much the same. Well, you're finding that you'll use less fast hours. You'll get more variations, and then you can choose what you like and say, okay, I like this one. And when we get into consistent styles, you'll see how you can pick one and then start generating more like that specific one. Okay, so chaos is really important, and you can set your defaults. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And then the last parameter we're going to go over in detail is the quality. Now, quality is great for photography. It's also great for coloring pages, because what it does is that it adds more details. Okay, it adds more details. Now the ranges, it depends on the model. Some models start at 0.25, some models start at 0.50. Okay, but they go up to 2, and you can increase them in increments of 25. So you can do, say, 1.25, 1.50, 1.75, 2, right? Or you can do 5.0, 0.5, 0.75, right? And then 1. And so this is the same prompt, right, at 0.5. As you can see, it's really simple, kind of black and white, just little shadows, not a whole lot. But then I increase the quality. Look at the shade of green. Look how that changed. Look how much more detail I got on the leaves, right? Then I took it up to 2. Now look at this. It looks like more high definition, right? Now I've got not only the leaves, look at the water droplets, right? The dewdrops on it. Look at, again, the color, and it's bigger. You can see more details in the pores of the lines. Okay. And so again, photography, it works in all the art forms, but I'm saying you'll see the difference, the noticeable difference in photography, and you'll see the noticeable difference in coloring pages, particularly when you need those lines really well defined with coloring pages. Okay. So now the game changers, and they get their own day. We're going to talk about these next two on their own separate day. Like each one is going to have a day dedicated to it. SREF and CREF, and they're dash, and they're not, I'll go over what those are later, but style reference creates consistent styles. So if you're doing a campaign, just like this guy here, this kind of watercolor painting illustration, you see that in all the graphics that I'm creating. You know, this guy here, I created a consistent style there. Okay, so that works great for campaigns. It works great for, you know, website images, things like that, when you kind of need everything to have the same look and feel. And then the consistent characters. So we're going to go over consistent styles on March 15th. And then we're going to go over consistent characters. We have 2 days for that, the 17th and 18th of March. And by the way, I go into a lot of details with all of this stuff in my Midjourney Ultra course. This is where we go into a lot more detail. Like it actually tells you how to create the consistent characters and things like that. So check the comments check for the link to the Midjourney Ultra course. All right, so now let's get into the Midjourney interface. So I can show you where these parameters are. Okay, so you see this prompt. This is where we learn to prompt. Okay, so the slider right here at the end of the prompt bar is the settings. And this is where most of your parameters are. Okay. So I started in Discord, so I use dash a lot because I know how to prompt straight, but you don't have to do that. So when you set this up, it's going to become your defaults. So square is a default. I'm going to set my default to 16:9 for landscape. Okay, so you just slide it. I set mine to standard. You can set yours to raw. I only put in dash raw when it's doing a little too much. I have mine set to 6.1, but as you can see, you can change it down here. Okay, so 6.1 is it. And then personalize, we'll talk about the dash P later on. What day do we talk about the personalization codes? We talk about that on March 12th. Okay. So let's look at the stylize. All right. So it's at 100. I like mine at about 7 something. So I'm going to move that to about 750. And this slides up in increments of 50, but you can go anywhere in between. Weirdness, I never bother because that's this whole thing. And I'm not going to talk about that one. But the variety, and I said variables, but I was incorrect. It is variety. That variety is the chaos. Okay. So I put my chaos at 30. Okay. So now the speed, we leave that. The speed, you can do fast, relax, turbo. Stealth is off and on. You have to have the $60 to be stealth. That means other people can see it. Again, I wouldn't spend that kind of money later. So now that I have this, I wouldn't spend that kind of money until you later on when you've generated a lot of images that are really, great. So now this becomes my default. Okay. So if I take an prompt from the Explore page, I'm just going to find one that I think we can have a lot of fun with. Gosh. All right, let's try this one. Oh, that's a long one. Never mind. I'm trying to find a short prompt. Okay, let's just copy this one. Okay. So I'm just going to use this one and I'm just going to hit enter. And it should pick up my parameters. So that image was square. This one is picking up the default parameters that I put in. Okay. And it's telling you that my chaos is 30. My aspect ratio is 16:9. My stylization is 750. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and use it. And I'm going to change this stylization to say a 833, right? Because I told you increments of 50. So you can still do that. You can still do the increments of. Okay, you can still do the increments of. All right. So I'm going to use the prompt again. Okay. And so let's go back and look at some of these. I said variable. Let me fix this. So the next time I teach it, variety. Okay. All right. Let's look at some of the other ones. I changed the stylize. You just saw me change the aspect ratio. However, let's change this aspect ratio by hand. Okay. I think it's, let's just go with 5, 2, right? And hit enter. And so you see it made it a little bit more narrow than the 16:9. Okay. And look at what happened. When I stylized it, I went from the 750. Midjourney put a little bit more of its style in it. So look at that. And then this is the 750 and this is the 833. Okay, so a little bit more stylization. All right, so let's see what it looks like in different versions. Okay, so I'm going to use this stylize AR. I think that I can only do 16:9, chaos 30, and I'm going to do the -V4. So we'll see what happens in V4, and it's running. Okay, so you'll see what the same prompt looks like in other versions. We've got the stylized raw mode. Okay, I'm going to just go down and hit use here. And I'm going to style raw here. So that means I want Midjourney to take its specialty off. So look at 4. Look how 4 looks more like an illustration. Like this person isn't even really defined, crazy fingers. This is what we were seeing in the early days of AI, right? These distortions. Okay. And that's why we kind of don't really go to 4, but I want certain art styles are good at 4. All right. So these are taking a little while to generate. Let's go back and look at more parameters. We looked at the chaos. We're going to look at the quality. Okay, chaos and quality. I've already shown you the chaos. What is this? This is style raw. So that means it took all the details. Look at how simplistic this one is. Okay, and so I'm going to open that one in a new tab so you can see some of these side by side. That one in a new tab. Okay. That one in a new tab. And let's look at this one. Okay, so this is style 750 versus style 833. 750, 833. Okay. Now this is version 4, right? Versus 6.1. 4 versus 6.1. Okay. And then this is style raw. Okay. Which means take all the stylization off and just give me the prompt. Look at what it did, right? This is 833, but let's just go to 750 because that's more similar. This is raw and 750 on the stylized. Look at the difference between that. Okay. But again, there are times when I need for it to pay more attention to the prompt than to give me beautification. Okay. And we'll talk about that when we get into some of the biases. We'll talk about that when we get into some of the biases. Is there anything else that I wanted to cover? Oh, I did want to show you chaos a little bit better. Okay. So let's use this. And right now we're at chaos 30. That's what you're seeing here. So it's just a slight difference. Let's take this chaos up to 75. Okay. So I'll take the chaos up to 75 so you can see the difference. I'm going to leave the chaos at 75 and drop this stylization down to 155. And so lower stylization. Okay. So the chaos, now you can see the difference. And this is what I was talking about When I say the higher chaos, right, that means these 4 images, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 images are so different, right, that I now can say, oh, I want this, all my images to look like this one, or I want all my images to look like that one. I really love this one. Even though it's messed up, I like the art style. So the chaos gives you a difference in the style of the images. Then that way you can, which one was closer to what you had in mind? Okay, which one was closer to what you had in mind? And then you can make the difference. Okay, so now I did the chaos 30. No, chaos 75, excuse me. But I dropped the stylization. So the stylization means chaos had Midjourney has less influence over it. So remember, when you drop and the stylization, it looks more at what the prompt is telling you. So it's more simplistic, right? And then it changed the art style. This is now an illustration. Okay. This is photography. It's a little weird stuff going on here, but it's not great photography, but it's photography. And here's another illustration. This looks like Serena, right? So they gave me a lot more variation. So that's it. That's all I want to talk about for chaos. We've been here a little bit longer than usual. Again, the Midjourney Ultra course. Let me just tell you a little bit about that. Midjourney Ultra, it's for beginners and intermediate. So it's going to have some of the elements of the Kickstart, which means it'll tell you how to get through the setup. I think it does actually also go through the Discord setup for those who want to work in Discord. And so setting up your account, it talks about how to generate images, talks about style personalization, how do you get that --P. It does have details on the consistent characters, right? It's a consistent character and it has a consistent style. Okay. And it goes in more detail than I do in the 30 minutes. Okay. Then you've got the image editor, talks about how to use the image editor, and you get this guidebook. So all these parameters, cheat codes, things like that are in these 2 books. Okay. Because it's a level 1 and a level 2 book. So you get courses from level 1 and level 2 in here. Okay, so you get the 2 guides. Okay, so again, I've already dropped the link. You can go ahead and get it. It's only $147 right now. It normally goes for $197, but I dropped the price through the Midjourney Madness 21 days. So I would go ahead and grab this. It's a lot more detail for those of you who attended the shop live. It was great. And I think that this is going to wrap us up for the evening. And I appreciate all of you guys joining me tomorrow. Again, tomorrow, we're going to be going over art styles. We're going to start with photography, right? All the different types of photography that you can do. And then we'll also go over paintings, illustrations, cartoons, and SREF codes this week. Okay. So this is great. Are these just specifics just for this prompt? No, they're for Midjourney. The specifics that I'm showing are for Midjourney, so they work for all Midjourney prompts. Okay, I hope that was the question. All right, so that's it for me. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and thanks for watching.